Kong here, their branch is saying they're denying it. Oh, the radioactive stuff is only in Japan.
Right.
In other words, you got that, the one in Hong Kong. Oh, we don't have radioactive food here at our chain here in Hong Kong. That's only in Japan.
Wow.
Is that an admission? Is that an admission?
Yeah.
And we know they have been pushing. You see Kobe beef and all this stuff all over Thailand. Cheap. Yesterday, I was at a noodle shop in Hong Kong. Scallops, clams, they're cheap, like $3 for a bowl of these things. You just can't get those prices for the last 30 years, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, when you see prices like that, discounted seafood, discounted beef, stay away. It's from, it's from northern Japan. It's radioactive.
Well, they have got to have sick animals over there, but you don't hear about it here. I don't know if you hear about it there, but what they call it is a scary mystery illness, killing off animals, quote, at such a rapid rate on the West Coast. Hundreds of marine mammals found dead in small areas. Something, says the government, is likely affecting the entire ecosystem. Well, I wonder what it possibly could be. They apparently have never heard of radioactivity or radiation and don't know anything about Fukushima. That's what they want us to believe. They know damn good and well exactly what's going on here. Exactly.
Well, from Dana's reports, if they're not being killed by radiation so far, they're dying of starvation because everything else is being killed by radiation.
That's right. There's no more scavenging fish out there to be had.
Yeah.
Even if they were able to eat anything, they're still bioaccumulating radioactivity. So it's going to get them one way or the other. Go ahead, Dana.
Yeah, sorry. Like you're saying, there's nothing out there for them to eat. If I was to do the trip again and not take any groceries with me and try to survive on the coastline, I would starve to death in a week. There's nothing there to eat for me, let alone the animals. My goodness.
You couldn't find anything, nothing.
Nothing. No, you would starve to death anywhere I went. And I made a conscious thought about that each day was, can I, like everything on the coastline, I could have fit, everything that I seen in 15,000 miles and 260 days, we could have fitted in the back of a transport truck.
Oh my God.
I mean, it's gone.
That's
it's gone.
Horrific. Amazing.
I mean, when you add it all up throughout the whole coastline, you probably put it in a stadium.
Yeah.
That's inconceivable, 26,000 islands. And,
it is inconceivable.
There's no shortcut about it. I just want to touch on, like Yoichi was asking earlier, very quick, before I forget, was that sea otters were missing for most of the coastline, and a section of Vancouver Island did have them. They were young, but I didn't see them anywhere else to the coastline. And so when I was reading that today, that really struck home, because I was saying to myself, how could they survive? There was nothing there for them to survive on. And I got stunning footage of them. You can hear them eating the shellfish that Yoichi was talking about.
All right.
Well, that would make sense what Dana's saying, because
does,
California on the North Pacific current splits. It'll go past the Canadian coast before it reaches Alaska. So this crisis is now in Alaska, probably a year after or 18 months after the major kill-off in Canada. So that does totally make sense in terms of the dynamics of the current. Yeah.
What's going on with respect to the Olympics? Is anybody talking about the Olympics other than the usual rah-rah?
A lot of people are very negative. The government of Tokyo, the metropolitan, has no money to sponsor the thing. The Japanese government is pushed very thin because there's a lot of military spending. So, the Brazil Olympics is coming up. That's also problematic. Sewage in the water. So hopefully that will begin to trigger the notion that environmental health is crucial for young athletes.
So you think there's a chance that you think there's a chance that Japan may beg out of it for some reason or another?
Well, they're not going to beg. Someone's going to have to, confront them. And I think some National Olympic committees and doctors groups are going to have to do that. I think a lot of people are waiting for the Brazil Olympics to be over before they deal with
Japan.
the Tokyo.
Yeah.
But, all of my findings, and again, I think it was Fukushima diary that picked up a story in Japan of the increasing radiation in the rainfall over Tokyo, okay? Mm-hmm. So radiation levels, atmospheric, because these typhoons are crossing from the Pacific Trench. They're bringing in radioactive rain into Tokyo. So radiation levels are rising in Tokyo. It's clearly in the waters. Lots of report about that. The other problem the other indicator we have of massive radiation off the coast of Japan as a threat to human health is that the U.S. aircraft carrier George Washington, a real new carrier, was sent back to the United States in September. And, you got to understand, it's based at Yokosuka Naval Base, which has got a huge maintenance crew. It was the home port of the USS Kitty Hawk. So they could fix anything that's wrong with the George Washington. Could have been fixed in Japan, except for the desalination system, the water desalination system. Yeah, it uses the heat from its own nuclear reactor to make fresh water from seawater. Well, it's been replaced. It took months. It took 3 months to replace the George Washington. The Ronald Reagan is over there, and Shinzo Abe was standing aboard the Ronald Reagan 2 days ago at a military exercise. And the Reagan we know, he was there. This is really balls. This is like chutzpah, it's so ball-based trumpetry here that he can sit on the deck of the Ronald Reagan when the former crew of the Reagan are all dying and he's not paying any compensation, not admitting any of the problems. And as we know, that desalination system poisoned everybody because the seawater could not filter out the radionucleotide. So
what is the Reagan? What is the Reagan doing over there, Yoichi?
They had to replace the George Washington. The George Washington is a relatively new carrier. It was sent back to San Diego for refitting, which is really ridiculous. But obviously it's because of the desalination system. There's so much radioactivity in the drinking water that it produces.
Sure.
They have to replace that whole darn system. And I suppose they're trying to figure a way to filter out radionucleotides, tritium. There's a lot of tritium in the water. So I expect the crew of the George Washington to have very similar problems as the Reagan. Not as intense and immediately, but over time we'll see. Many of those sailors, seamen. And then it's just an outrage, a travesty, that they get this rust bucket, the Reagan, which was completely gutted with radiation, to send it back to Japan and have American crew on there. No wonder Shinzo Abe is bored. He's so happy. So many American soldiers and sailors are dying. It's wonderful revenge for World War II. Wonderful revenge for Shinzo. I'm sure he felt very good. He felt like Darth Vader. They're all dead men. They're all skeletons here. Yanks are gone.
Unreal.
Yeah, it is unreal. It's unreal, this Obama administration. It's just, I don't know what to say. This is really willful manslaughter of American
it is absolutely manslaughter, sure, and that's being kind. I think it's worse than that, but this is not going to go.
If you admit the problem, say this is what we're doing, we need some volunteers to do this stuff on a volunteer basis, okay? Older sailors or retired sailors. That's one thing. That's one level, okay? But what they're doing is unconscionable. It's unconscionable. And it's more than manslaughter. It's murder. It's murdering.
I agree. All right. Yoichi, thank you. It's the bottom of the hour.
All right.
Great update as always. Talk to you soon. You be well. Be safe. Take care.
Thank you. Okay, Dana. Happy sailing there.
Yeah, take care. Hugs for you, Yoichi.
Yeah, take it easy.
Good night. Okay, there he goes. He's going to be tied up for the next 3 weeks on business and traveling. So we've got Dana here, our other colleague, and we will be bringing you up to date, as always, every Monday. And the news just continues to get worse. But what's really bad about the news is the lies in it. They are so blatant and so bald-faced and so in your face, it makes me sick. I am ashamed to read these stories, to see adults with PhDs, scientists, institute heads, university employees, and professors lying. There's something big out there. We don't know what it is. And they can't guess. They can't even guess. Of course they know what it is. As I said, look, please, again, at the homepage at Rense.com right now look at the major piece of art at the top of the page. We call it our splash art. Take a look at it and understand that this is a new piece. You can click right underneath it and go to the full story to read it. This was out about a week and a half ago, and I want you to look at the concentration of radiation in the Pacific Ocean. This is supposedly an unpublished government map. Obviously, it's not finished, but the part of it that is finished is gruesome, because right off Vancouver and Seattle, it is at the top of it's pinned. It's at the top of the scale. Look at it and understand it. Go ahead, Dana. You've seen that map. That's as grim as it gets. Just about.
That is frightening. And I was looking at that this afternoon, and it has one point of it. It's really hot stuff. And so think of it. I think for people, the best way to look at this is think of 1,000-mile oil spill, and say it's a mile deep, and it's going along your coastline with the tidal zone, with the tide. Say the tide is going 2 or 3 nautical miles an hour.
Yeah.
And it'll do that and deposit that all over the entire coastline.
Yeah.
From one end of the country to another end of a country, and still have tons left over to maul all kinds of other countries and
sure.
Estuaries and reefs and that, yeah. It's so, like Yoichi was saying earlier about heart attacks, there was 2 high school students died at once in Japan in the same school. There was 7 people died on one street. Now, most people, when they die on a street, they're not dying, of lung injuries or something like that, or diabetes in the sense.
They're not hit by cars.
But they go into they go into like a shock, and these people drop dead. On one shopping street in Fukushima Prefecture itself, the ambulances were going to the reactors about 10 times a day. A reporter had reported. But for heart attack wise, cesium-137 immediately, Jeff, you know that, I guess, immediately attacks the heart. It's 11 becquerels for children. They start seeing damage, 50 becquerels a kilogram and 11 becquerels a kilogram respectively. 50 becquerels, you'll see irreversible heart damage. Hospitals in Fukushima were showing that 51% of the children originally were peeing cesium-137, and that's all they were checking for. But 40% of the visitors at another hospital showed internal exposure to radiation. I know I covered that many times over the last number of years. And it's just, when he's talking about heart attacks, and then there were studies done on 20,000. It was originally 14,000 in North America. And then babies, there were speculations on how many babies had heart attacks and strokes from Fukushima. And people's pets, cats and dogs.
That's something that we haven't mentioned often enough. They are also mammals. They are also dying. Many of the dog and cat foods have wild-caught salmon. Before the tuna industry was crushed, it would have tuna in there, all kinds of just stock fish in the ocean. They'd use protein from fish. Well, they can't do that anymore. It's radioactive, and it's killing off the animals.
We're next.
We're next.
Yeah,
that's right.
We're up the top of the food chain, and so we're like Jeff. You always tell people we're bioaccumulating it heavily. 5,000 nuclear plant workers were internally radiated, and 10,000 counts a minute. These are dead people walking. There's no cure for that. 5 to 10,000
CPM.
Right.
Wow.
That's a guesstimate with what they're doing.
Yeah.
So the full body scanners that Yoichi was talking about earlier, and the children, and 2,700 of them showed completely no. And now, if you're in that environment, as you're looking at 1 million becquerels a square meter, there's no way you're not ingesting it. Right? There's no way you can't ingest it, can't walk through it. And so if it's in a square meter, then it's also in a cubic meter when you're, that you're breathing. And so it's outrageous what they're doing to the Japanese people. They have rallied in the streets with hundreds of thousands repeatedly. And now the police will just bludgeon them. You see principals, you see hospitals telling concerned parents that they're foolish and that they got to suck it up for the country and stuff like that. Repeatedly, headlines over. I got tons of headlines like that where they chastise parents and guardians, and teachers are quitting because it's unconscionable that the students are going to school every day in these extraordinary environments that are worse than Chernobyl before. In fact, you can move out of Japan